Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn.
Yo.
Aaron, I don't care if people aren't happy enough or excited enough. The Buffalo Bills have defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 24-18 in honestly kind of a weird game, but in a much needed W to be able to go into this 10-day mini bye with at least some positive thoughts going forward. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I know people are going to call me a homer and tell me that I'm not hard enough on all the things that they don't like about the that happened in this game. A little bit weird. NFL is tough. Most games are one-score games, but
the Buccaneers aren't a trash team. Like they were 3-3 and had some good wins. Like
yeah,
they're
and I
not
had people in my mentions
disaster.
saying that, like, oh, they're 3-3. And it's like, yo, we only have 4 wins. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. They have the like middle of the road defense. Their defense is right with our with the Bills defense and DVOA and stuff like that. So I mean, they've got players on their side of the ball too. We talked about it in the preview show. Greg, on the field saw enough from players that I needed to see stuff from in this game that gave me confidence going forward. Fast start for the offense, exactly whatever. That was the big fight all week long, right? Was the offense needs to come out fast. Now I'm sure the fight will be, well, they didn't finish the game or whatever. I'm sure there will be people nitpicking it, but overall, to your point, heading into a mini bye here, they've been licking their wounds to be able to get a win in a game they pretty much, I know it came down to that last Hail Mary play, but it felt like the Bills were in control of this entire game all throughout.
Yeah, we'll talk about some things as we get through some of the drive-by-drive recap and the other pieces. I do think there was some execution things as some of the plays. I'm sure people will question whether they should have punted or not in each of those situations. Each of those were because we didn't convert some first downs that we probably should have converted. It would have been nice to see a couple more, strong scoring drives. When they went up 24-10 and then caused a pretty quick punt back and got the ball back, I was like, oh, okay, they're just going to kind of run away with this game. It's going to be a nice, comfortable, easy drive. And they just kind of, kept shooting themselves in the foot with some silly things, some weird penalties. I will get into that scoring drive for Tampa Bay with the 2 fourth down conversions on weird penalties, a completely pointless one where after the sack, Jordan Phillips' hand does technically graze across.
That should have been called
Baker
dead
Mayfield's
3 seconds before that.
Yeah,
But whatever.
and then of course a touchdown off of Christian Benford's helmet on 4th and 10 that Mike Evans catches. But all those things did make it look like a closer game. We did get a first down and on a drive where we could have tried to completely ice it and get a first down. We didn't. So there was definitely one of those things where I think a lot of the people tonight, how about this? Everyone watching tonight got what they wanted. Because if you were mad about Sean McDermott, he probably gave you some stuff to complain about. If you were looking to have Ken Dorsey, kind of justified the, hey, things are going better, we did. We had a pretty nice game. We threw for 324. We ran for 115.
There'll be people saying that it was Josh Allen calling plays and it wasn't Ken Dorsey.
I've already seen it.
There's not,
no matter what, people got what they wanted tonight, but ultimately we got to win. We go into the mini bye with a win and can at least dial back and relax. And I can wait till tomorrow night to do like a trade deadline extravaganza of trade targets.
There you go. Yeah. And no, you're right that I think whatever your bias or priors were that you were trying to build up, you could probably find something in this game. But here's the thing, Greg, I tweeted this out right before we went live. Like, again, I think they, for the most part, dominated this game. Peter Nana put out there that those situations for the punt it is a kind of a coin flip. And the way this defense was playing, the lack of what Tampa was able to do in that situation, I don't hate it. In hindsight, yes, I would have liked them to go for one of those. Tampa gets paid too, and Todd Bowles coaches up a good defense. They made second half adjustments, to your point, that stalled out some of the things that the Bills were trying to do. But overall, I don't know. They answered a lot of the issues that I had going into this game. What happens when Stefon Diggs doesn't have a big game? Who can get there? You had Khalil Shakir having a big game. You had Gabe Davis having a huge game.
Yeah.
Those types of things are good. Josh Allen being an up tempo, having the answers to blitzes. Like, this is a heavy blitz team, and they didn't get pressure on Josh. And when they did, he responded with running in the right moments and throwing to the hot routes in the right moments. These were all the things that we were breaking down all week that were the fixable problems with this offense. And it's October, right? Like, it's still, you're not going to be playing your best football in October. So you got the win. You talk about this all the time, that still having some of that stuff on film, whether it's coaching or players, to be able to correct and to be able to fix. That we have a long time before the Bills need to be playing at their best football. We still have a whole month before they're playing the Eagles, right? So you got some time here, and you got the dub along the way.
Yeah. So let's kind of go through some of the good and then some of the bad, because there were some things we want to improve. We saw Josh Allen run the ball. Josh had 7 carries for 41 yards. I think 2 designed runs, a few scrambles where you could tell Josh had in his mind that, hey, I can take off and go here. Look great on the touchdown run. That was an exciting one.
And one right out of the gate to set a tone, right? You heard the crowd get going when he does that. And I think that was Ryan Fitzpatrick. I posted his thing of needing Josh to get involved in that way. It does make a difference to this team and the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. And I think that helped kind of set some of those things up. And I won't lie, that the way this game felt like a foregone conclusion. The Hail Mary was going to get tipped into the Bucs players' hands. I won't lie. I was sitting there like, wait, okay. All right. Thank God.
Make sure. Yeah.
But, the last couple of weeks, it's hard not to feel that way. Watching that stupid scoring drive with the penalties and them converting on fluky, weird plays. I know I saw a comment earlier. How many plays were there where we were that far away from a sack or that far away from a tipped interception? They get one tip ball and it goes right into a big defensive lineman's belly. We have a ton. Poyer
had like 3.
6.
Yeah.
All those different plays that we got our hands on the ball. I think, there were 8 pass defenses that we got our hands on the ball and didn't have any. We didn't have an interception on the day. So just some weird things there. James Cook, I thought looked solid again. 14 carries for 67 yards, had 1 catch. And then I think one of the other things people were looking for was the development of secondary targets in the passing game. This was probably the best passing game we've seen where it wasn't singularly driven by Stefon Diggs. Khalil Shakir 6 for 92. Gabe Davis 9 for 87 and a touchdown. Probably the best Gabe Davis game we've seen in a little bit here. Stefon Diggs did end up with 9 for 70 because he's awesome, and of course he's going to end up with some of that. And Dalton Kincaid 5 for 65 and his first touchdown as a pro. Just was really nice to see development of the secondary passing targets outside of Diggs to be able to come together. And honestly, the offensive line was really good. A team that's incredibly blitz happy. They didn't have Vita Vea, but they had all the rest of their pieces. Shaq Barrett was there. You had all the other pieces along there. Joseph Tryon Shoyinka and the other pieces along their defense were there. And Josh technically had a sack on one that he was scrambling out to the right, and as he rolled out, got tackled like 2 yards before the line of scrimmage. And then the other one was where Josh thought there was a free play and they didn't throw the flag, even though it very clearly the player was offsides.
I thought
so. Josh wouldn't have even scrambled back trying to get the free play if he didn't think it was offside. So neither of them were like offensive line giving up sacks. So the offense as a whole, although there are some things we'll talk about later on, maybe some of the conversions, some of the things,
situational stuff.
Yeah, we had a couple second long runs I didn't love. But overall, a few of the boxes we want checked, they checked each of them.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a victory lap here. I think what's coming. I was pumping up Khalil Shakir all week long. This guy has been trending. When you watch, Eric has broken down some of the blocking. Eric and I were going back and forth with some of him making himself available, kind of in that Cole Beasley role. And you saw a mix of what he can do in terms of being that Cole Beasley role. Plus, yards after catch, had a nice big run, put his shoulder down, ran through somebody, really set a tone with that one, and just was productive all night. And he's catching everything right now.
Career highs in both catches and yards, career highs.
Yeah, I want more. I want more Khalil Shakir in this offense. I am really, I said it earlier, he's my Taron Johnson of the offense right now. And that's my guy, pumping him up. So I'd love to see him coming out. But then Gabe Davis, and the type of game he had, Greg, you've heard me complain. One of my biggest complaints on Dorsey was the lack of how he uses some of the weapons that he has. Davis was an example last year. Dawson Knox was an example last year. I know people hate him now, but I didn't think they were being used correctly. And I think Gabe Davis proved that today, that when he is given more expansive options in this offense to be a guy that can do some stuff in the shorter passing game and not just be more of a decoy and a long threat and just going out deep, that he can make some plays with the ball. Like, he was running hard. He got that screen and took it for 13 or so yards, like stuff that we don't traditionally see from Gabe Davis. He was doing. That tells me it wasn't the player, it's how that player was being utilized. And so kudos to Dorsey for getting some of these guys going and utilizing them. It took a little longer than I wanted to, but I'm not going to have my dislike for Ken Dorsey get in the way of giving him some flowers when he does finally do the things that we want to see.
Yeah. I like this what Robert saying to emphasize the crowd was incredible tonight. I thought it was really good energy for as anxious and nervous as people
Twitter's
were.
not real life.
Yeah. Eric, consistent supporter here, is always great to us, talking about, that both sides. There's a lot of positives, but a lot to work on. That's not terrible for coaching heading into here. And I'm right there with you, Pat. And I'm my heart rate at the end was higher than it should have been for a game that was very comfortable the whole way. As we flip over, I'm going to jump to special teams first. And I think it's easy to get it kind of taken for granted because of two dumb penalties. Deonte Harty had 3 awesome returns.
Yeah.
2 of them got negated. That sucks. That doesn't change the fact that there were 3 awesome returns.
Right.
Sam Martin had the best punting game we've seen since the Brian Moorman days. If Saran Neal gets his hand on the one just a little bit more, it would have been 4 of them pinned inside of the 10.
Yeah.
And honestly, they would have never been in position to have the Hail Mary thing at the end.
Yep.
We blocked a field goal. Tyler Bass made all 4 of his kicks. So I think it's easy to throw it out and be like, oh, stupid penalties. It was terrible special teams. It was actually an awesome special teams night. And then, yes, 2 annoying penalties took it away from being a really great special teams night.
Josh Norman coming in, making some impact on special teams.
The first 2 special teams tackles of the game. And then on the defense, it's interesting because there's going to be a lot of statistics that look really good. We held them to 78 yards rushing.
Yeah.
They only passed for 224.
Mike Evans wasn't even noticeable to that touchdown.
Yeah, Mike Evans, until he got the late score there, they only had 17 first downs. They were held to 4.9 yards of play. So I think that weird drive with the multiple 4th down conversion penalties is going to make it feel like they were, the defense let down. But there's kind of fluky, weird plays. I think the defense had a lot of positives tonight. It wasn't perfect. There's some stuff where, we still need to be able to kind of close on some of those that we talked about, all those close tip plays, almost interceptions, almost sacks.
Can't guard a screen.
You still need to do that. Yeah, we still give up a lot on screens and stuff. But I thought the defense was good. Yeah, it wasn't awesome, but when you're missing, for what we've seen in the last couple of games, whatever you think about Tampa's defense, Tampa's offense is better than the Giants. Tampa's offense is better than the Patriots.
Mac Jones is not as good as Baker Mayfield.
Correct. Baker Mayfield's better than Mac Jones. He might be better than Tyrod. I don't know. That one's probably closer. Yeah. But they held them in control the entire game. 3 sacks on Baker. That close to a bunch of turnovers, and that doesn't count.
And that close to a bunch of other sacks too.
Yeah, could have been 5 or 6 sacks. Yeah. They had 10 quarterback hits. They hit Baker 10 times on top of the 3 sacks.
Yeah.
So all positive things. I thought McDermott was really aggressive in his defensive calls. Wasn't aggressive in all of his coaching tonight, but was aggressive in his defensive calls. And I think that is an encouraging sign as well.
Yeah. This defense, to me, we talked about on the preview show, I had legitimate concerns about these cornerbacks holding up against Godwin and Mike Evans here. And majority of the game, you saw Baker. I think a lot of the hits and sacks actually came from coverage. And I can't wait to watch it back on the All-22 because I think they did a pretty good job on what they were showing on the back. And we saw a lot of the looks that you've been looking for in the dime looks, with the linebacker struggling and trying to find the pieces in those passing downs so that Tyrell Dodson's not out there in a liability in some of those ones is going to pass. Yeah. Taylor Rapp held up pretty well. I know he got that PI. It wasn't a pretty ticky-tack one. Like, he made a pretty good play on that ball. But it seemed like he held up pretty well. Jordan Poyer in the box had a fantastic game coming up. Got his hand on a number of balls and made some big plays.
I like the way Dan phrased that. Jordan Poyer as a strong safety / linebacker is a nice twist. Hey, because
we thought it wasn't going to be
back there at safety and put Poyer in the box, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that whole dime talk all this offseason, we thought it would just be, Rapp comes in and he is that linebacker role, but they've really switched it, and Poyer's awesome up there playing around in the box. So that's fantastic. Leonard Floyd,
the biggest 195-pound guy in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
Jordan Poyer is the biggest 195-pound player in the NFL.
What a pickup Leonard Floyd's been. He almost is just unblockable. He's getting there every single time. AJ Epinesa, again, coming up with a sack, and in there, Ed Oliver, that deal's looking better and better every time he's out there playing. So they're getting pressure. Your boy Puna had a couple run stops, was doing some stuff.
His best game for sure.
People were giving him a hard time the last couple of weeks. So again, a lot of positive signs. But you're right. And that they will get through the drives and stuff. It's hard for me to get real mad at them when they hold the opponent under 20 points. And the one scoring drive that gets them close to 20 was, you had a call that was pretty questionable on Taron Johnson. I know he's gotten a lot of those calls lately, but that one didn't. That looked like the receiver initiated all the contact to me, and then the Jordan Phillips call. So it's a little fluky of them going down the field, and it still took them 7 minutes, 8 minutes to get that scoring drive together. So I felt the defense did more of what we've seen from Sean McDermott / Leslie Frazier defenses of your bend but don't break. You still give up a couple chunks, you give up some screen plays, but ultimately you're getting the ball back for your offense and putting them in pretty good position throughout the game.
On the coaching standpoint, I thought there was a lot of positives. Again, I thought Ken Dorsey had a nice game tonight. I thought Sean McDermott, the defensive coordinator, had a nice game tonight. We punted from inside Tampa Bay territory 4 times in this game tonight.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, I will say I know that McDermott, and they have a very strong analytics department.
This isn't his decision alone.
Correct. He's getting stuff in his ear. They don't do pure black and white. Hey, the math says you do this or that. They take the opponent into account. They take the scoring likelihood of the other team into account. At this point, Tampa Bay did not have a drive over 50 yards.
I mean, there was like 2 or 3 3-and-outs in there.
Multiple, and their only touchdown was on the tip ball interception. So, okay, to that point, they haven't driven the ball down the field all game. So, okay, I get a little bit here. There's some of the stuff where I do think we've seen it in with other better opponents. He does go for it more. Against Miami, he did. Against other teams, I think he will against Cincinnati and Kansas City and Philadelphia. But I do think there's a point there where, hey, you're getting down close. A couple of these were pretty, like the 4th and 9. Okay, I get it. It's 4th and 9. The 4th and 7. Okay, I get it. But like 4th and 1.
Yeah.
And another one is 4th and 4. And we have a really good offense. You can kind of put this away. Your offense can use a little shot in the arm. So I'm not going to say I don't think they were bad calls. I think it was 4 coin flip-ish, kind of 50-50 calls. I don't love that all 4 of them were punts inside Tampa Bay territory when, we have a pretty good offense. We probably could have converted here. And even if they didn't, you have the other element of that of, hey, you're up 14 points. Like, even if you give up a field goal or something like that, you're still up more than a touchdown. I think he could have had a little more aggression, not only from an analytical standpoint, because some of them, the analytics did say to go for it, but also the message is sent to the team.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's going to be a good, rational, nuanced conversation about this. I think it's fine.
I've already seen a lot of it. It's not super rational.
Yeah, I think it is fine to debate this, and it is fine to question Sean McDermott for this. I think the one that really bothers me is that second one. I think it was the 4th and 2. Um, but I don't think it's like, as somebody in here in the chat said, it was insulting to the offense. Like, I'm not going that far. Like, I do want to go for it. I want to be aggressive in that moment. I want to put that team away. But to your point, I think if a better opponent, a game that maybe you need a little bit more, you go in that situation. But yeah, I definitely think that at least one of those should go the other way. But yeah, on the 4th and 7, that's a tough one. Like, your defense has played really well. Sam Martin's punting as good as he's ever punted, pinning
Amazing.
this team down. Like, I would also have confidence that we can punt and get the ball right back with good field position, right? They're going to have to punt too. So I would say, let's have a rational conversation about it. I'm fine with saying he should go for it on that 4th and 2 and give the offense a chance. Just into your point, the message to the team, like, we believe in you enough to go for this in this situation, put this game away. But the offense was struggling a little bit in the second half to finish drives. They would get going. And then Tampa also, we're going to say the offense struggled and the problems that they had in the second half, but Tampa made some adjustments in that second half and kept some things in front of them and made the Bills get into some 4th down situations and have to make those decisions. Where in the first half, my notes are just littered with first down. Like, there wasn't a lot of 3rd and 4th down situations that they were getting into. So good on Tampa for making some adjustments in that game, because they were getting bullied around for 3 quarters. So yeah, no, I'm fine with giving McDermott some criticism in there, but there's fire McDermott. He's an idiot. He's so conservative. Like, this game was a mostly dominated game, and his defense, a depleted defense, called a very good game against a pretty good offense.
Yeah. Again, people take everything way overboard, and that's fine. I think Brandon's comment here is reasonable, in that you have a franchise quarterback and a good offense. Let them put the game away instead of continuing to watch this defense. And I know I saw our man David was in here in the chat. Appreciate him. Make sure you guys are checking out David and Uber over on the Roundup on Monday nights. His comment about, he's okay with the punts because the stupid penalties on that drive. I'm not that that's wrong. It was a fluky, weird drive that made it look closer than what it was. But that's actually the point, is that in those situations where I won't lie, it felt like we were in dominating control when we went up by 14. It is still only 14 points.
Sure.
You're not up 28 points. You're not up 31 points where it doesn't actually matter. Nobody's coming back from that. All it takes is one fluky drive, one fluky weird drive, one fluky weird play, one big moment, and all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, what is going on here? How did this happen? So that's actually a piece of it, is that you can't take for granted that, we're just going to completely dominate them the rest of this game. There's no chance they're going to do things, even though we had shown it, even though we showed we were the better team, even though there wasn't a high likelihood, and it did take 3 crazy 4th down conversions. It still happened. So that's actually part of the point, is that, hey, you have to have some of that in your mind and know that, hey, we can give the offense a chance to be able to put this away. And our guy the tree here saying offensive, 24 points it was a talking point. So the frustrating part is, if you just pause it after that drive coming out of the half where we go up and put up 24, in your mind you're like, okay, this is easily going to be a 31 34 38 point night. This is going to be great. And it could have been, but the way they ended it, it's hard. I think there was a lot of good tonight, but overall, 24 is probably not going to be enough in some big games.
In some of the big ones, I think there's been a weird conversation about points this week and like what it takes. And 25 points is still that top 5 average in the NFL right now. So it's hard to score 30 points in the league, even though the Bills have done it and they've had some big games. It's still tough to do. Most teams aren't going to average 30 in a season. I think the Bills left some points on the board too. And it's not all Sean McDermott. There was some, they got into a goal line situation where, we can go through those play by plays. They got into a goal line situation that, even though they were playing well and I liked what we saw, I'm not going to, again, same conversation about the Sean McDermott and the punts. I'm not going to yell at Ken Dorsey because they went into shotgun, because they also got stuffed going under center on the goal line once too. But they had some points that they left out there, and they could have gone up by a little bit more earlier on and put that game away even sooner. So yeah, 24 points doesn't feel like enough to beat the Eagles, but they didn't play the Eagles tonight, right? And I do think some of those decisions are changed if they are playing Kansas City,
KC,
if they are playing,
Cincinnati. Hell, the next game against Cincinnati, I think we'll see some different.
Yeah, and I'm not making excuses of like, oh, you play worse teams differently, but it really it does factor into some of the decisions that you make.
So let's dive into the play-by-play, go through some of the recap pieces here. Obviously, there was a fair amount of debate about the decision making with the toss. Was a interesting talking point here. The Bills won the toss and deferred. And opened up with Tampa Bay. At first, I thought it was going to be a quick 3 and out. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. But Mayfield does hit, Trey Palmer for a first down and ends up picking up, at least a first down to get things going a little bit. They end up running 6 plays and punt and pin us down to the 4. And I'm like, all right, well, that's annoying here. We're going to have to go through. And Josh comes out absolutely on fire. Mm-hmm. Just, I think he ended up 7 of his first 8, and the 1 was an obvious throwaway on a nicely called blitz by Todd Bowles. But straight down the field, nice, a 13-yarder to Shakir, another 21-yarder to Shakir, 16 to Davis, just moving his way straight down the field. And we get kind of close where it would have been nice, had a chance with Diggs, but end up settling for the field goal on what felt like kind of a reassuring opening drive.
Yeah, to be pinned and go 10 plays, 77 yards. Yeah, you didn't walk away with the touchdown. I was a little frustrated, right? Because that's what we wanted, was to come out and start hot. But when you're pinned like that, that was my first thought when they punted and they get the nice bounce there. Is like, man, I really want to start out hot, but it's pretty hard to score with your back to the end zone, especially with this offense has been playing. But they spread it out. They go up tempo, which is exactly what we've been asking for this week to see from Josh, especially against a blitz heavy team. And in this one, you mentioned, Shakir getting a couple of those early ones. That was them blitzing, Shakir being that safety blanket and him trusting in that and hitting that, which is exactly what Eric and Ant were breaking down this week of when these blitzes happen. What are we doing? Why is it Josh struggled over the last 3 weeks?
Throw straight at it where the blitz vacates the zone, throw there.
And give
a huge one to Diggs doing the exact same thing later.
Absolutely. And it gave, with a guy like Shakir, it gives him a chance where Beasley didn't do much after the catch, right? Like he would get it and then kind of just jump forward. You got a guy like Shakir now, though, where he could be that safety blanket and turn and run and make a play, and you give your guy an opportunity to make a play in that situation. So I loved what we saw out of that. Obviously the drive stalls out and you end up settling for the field goal. So it doesn't feel great because you wanted to start out sharp and get a touchdown on the board, but it took a little bit more time. That's all.
Yeah. Tampa gets the ball back. You see the quick end around to Godwin, who is a elite athlete, another guy that we kind of kept in check most of the game as well. We started to see some of the checkdowns to Rachaad White start stacking up. You get the 21-yard defensive pass interference to Rapp, which again, very ticky-tack. I thought that was, I don't think he was molesting K-Dotton by any stretch of the imagination. We then do get a blitz and a fumble where it looked like we were going to get the ball back, but ends up getting it there. And
that was actually a crazy play by Baker, though. That missed snap goes like over his head and he somehow gets it on a bounce and he just gets it off.
Heck, the Puna Ford safety where his knee was like 2 inches above the ground.
He was down. Yeah, right. But then
in real time, I thought his knee was down.
Me too.
I thought his knee was down.
Yeah.
His knee did go down, but I thought his knee was down with before the ball went off.
Sneaky elusive back there.
Yeah. I still, again, I'm not going to do it tonight, but I've gone through the rant before where the day before the draft, when everybody thought Cleveland was going to take Baker Mayfield or take Josh Allen, and they end up taking Baker, I think there's a really high likelihood that Buffalo ends up with Baker Mayfield. He comes into a very stable, good situation with a good front office and a good defense and all the things. I think he gets extended, and he's not Josh, but I actually think he's a pretty good quarterback, and we all love him. Yeah. And I think he would have been here and been beloved, and we would have been rooting for him, and he probably would have been more Kirk Cousins-ish than where Josh Allen is. Yep. But he would have had a way more stable career and had a chance.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Oh, it really does matter where you get drafted.
Oh yeah. We then see Shaq Lawson block the field goal. Shout out to Shaq. He's actually had a history of that several times in his career.
Yeah.
As we go through the next one, so we get the ball here in pretty good field position. Right off the bat, Josh hits Diggs for one of his only catches in the first half. There wasn't a ton of looks in the first half. I think only 3 total. Hits Gabe, hits James Cook. Looks like we're really cooking.
That James Cook one, I just want to make a point on again to the stuff that and Eric were talking about all week. They had a free runner on that blitz, and it was like I couldn't actually tell if it was a designed screen or if it was just he was that hot option on the blitz and he just got it to him. I got to watch that one back from real time, but he made the right decision, got it to James Cook. I need to see more of that in this offense. So it was great to see that.
Yes, would have been fantastic to be able to see. So as they continue down, we see the 30-yarder to Shakir, who's now cooking. I think that was around the time of your
I'm starting to get a little excited.
Karen Johnson tweet. Hey, you've been calling for it, and he had a career high game. You can't ask for more than that.
And that was the one where he lowered his shoulder, and you saw the sideline. Like we haven't seen the Bills sideline get up for one of their own guys like that in a bit.
Yeah, I like Patrick here saying he's not sure whether he liked LeBron James or Bobby Wagner better.
A lot of calls today.
Don't forget J.R. Smith. There's J.R. Smith in there.
That one.
There was a couple good ones. Then we ran the Kansas City play, where Josh kind of starts to roll and does the backhand, middle screen to Dalton Kincaid, who kind of backed into the end zone, but his butt was down before he went in. And here, I will say, one, people hate too much on plays out of shotgun. I think you've done some really good analysis showing that, hey, we actually have pretty good results running out of shotgun, using shotgun down at the goal line. Josh can be a weapon. However, I think the one area where there should genuinely be no exceptions, not a hey, we're not really sure what we should do. Let's see what options we have. At the 6-inch line, with 2 shots at the 6-inch line from third down, the only play should be Josh Allen under center with Latavius Murray and Gabe Davis behind him, shoving him into the end zone. That should be the only option. That should not be a, hey, let's see what tricks we got in our bag here. That should be the go-to without question. And I almost think the fact that we saw it on the next drive was McDermott yelling that into the headset and just saying, hey, don't get cute here. Just go get the free yards. And right now, until the NFL makes a rule change, we have a 6'5", 250-pound quarterback. It's free. It's free.
Although one was stuffed last week, right, in the red zone.
There's been a couple. There's been a couple around the league where they've done it. There's a very high convert. I will say it's not Mitch Morris's best usage. We don't have a Jason Kelce.
He's not that guy. Yeah.
That's not his strength. Mitch Morris is a very good center. Bowling forward was there. And hell, I'll even give you, if Tampa had Vita Vea, okay, you're right. Humans don't move Vita Vea.
Right.
But they didn't. No. And it just,
I wonder if his shoulder plays into it. Although they snuck him later.
They let him run the whole night. They ran right off the bat. I just again, I don't think it's as black and white as people saying, oh, they're idiots. Those other plays are trash. They're not. We actually have pretty good results. There's a good chance Josh can still do good things. We still almost scored in that scenario. We're inside the 1 yard line. I don't think it should be a debate. I don't think it should be an option.
The thing that frustrated me is then in hindsight, you go for it, right, on 4th. So if you were going to go for it on 4th, on that 3rd and goal is the time to run, because then if you don't get it, you're still planning
if you lose a yard and you're a yard back and then you don't want to do it again because it's a yard and a half or 2 yards, cool, then open it up and do some other stuff and move it around. But if you're going for it, God, come on.
Yeah, and I do agree. I don't hate the shotgun in most of the scenarios in the red zone. I think it presents more of a challenge.
2 yard and back. I'm
Yeah,
fine with it.
that stuff, like, I did see a lot of, like, just over the top hate on that,
Okay.
and I think you're right that in the 3rd and goal situation from the one where the play before he's like, it's not even one, it's inches,
It
right?
was genuinely at like they listed in the play by play as the one, but the
Yeah.
refs put it at
I
the
mean, that
6-inch line
ball
because
from
that's where it got stopped.
Kincaid was inches
Right
from
there,
the scoring.
right there.
So yeah, that one you go for it, but yeah, I'm not gonna get mad because Josh being in shotgun presents as a weapon in the run game as well, more so than under center. And I think that in outside of the inches line, that's a really tough thing for a defensive coordinator to do in tight space. So I don't hate it for the most part. But
Yeah.
yeah, in this situation, I agree. Probably should be debated in the same way we're debating punts tonight.
Yeah. Yes. So then, fortunately, the defense picks him up, gets a quick 3 and out. We see maybe
Big return.
best Deonte Harty play as a Bill so far with some
Terrible punt too. That was like a line
for
drive to
I
him.
will say, Camarda is an awesome punter.
Yeah.
He's number 1 in the NFL, has been for a bit in raw yardage. He's not
He
always
needs to
the
keep
best
his
in
helmet to
nets.
himself, though.
He did swing a helmet at another player. It was just an asinine play.
What are you doing?
That's an asinine play for anybody. But as a punter, like what?
Yeah, and
what are
you should
doing,
get
tough
kicked
guy?
out, and then you really screw your team
should've.
over when you don't have a
And
punter.
you don't have a punter. You don't
Yeah.
have a backup punter. You're
Yeah.
then asking your kicker to punt or whatever.
Yeah.
So Deonte Harty, probably his best play as a Bill, although I say he's had a couple really nice 3rd down conversions with some joystick stuff. But didn't they give you a little bit of Dante Hall vibes? Like when he ran over to the right and did the like cutback and then still found room to be able to go the other way.
He's shifty, man. He's what
yeah.
we wanted McKenzie to be, I think.
Yes, I really think so. And I'm gonna give Wayne credit here for seeing yours and Alex's tweets earlier here. Bill's
I'm never gonna live that down now.
Cover 1 being a Dorsey defender and Aaron's unfortunate low testosterone. It's a shame that
My wife wishes my
to the best of us.
testosterone was lower. She asks for it all the time.
So you can leave her alone.
Calm down.
So the Bills end up with the ball at the Tampa Bay 23. Get a nice run by Cook right off the bat. Another run to convert it. Josh runs for a 1st down. And then again, the one technically, Yaya Diaby, it says sacks, but he as Josh was about to run for a touchdown, got a shoelace. Yeah. And then on the next play, Josh ran for a touchdown anyways and ended up getting it back.
And they do tush push on this drive.
Was it? Oh yeah, that was the
before the no game
on the 3rd and 1 when they're at the 14.
Yeah.
That Josh Allen play was the tush push, the quarterback sneak 1st down, and you want to know why I didn't notice that it was? Because he got 3 yards on the play, so it didn't register in my mind.
It was
that it was that play. It was a very effective one because he got 3 freaking yards on the play. I think the next drive was a good reminder where there's still some good players on Tampa Bay's offense. Rashad White had a couple nice plays, even got called back on the one. Like Rashad White ripped off a 26-yard run that got called back, and they still drove down and ended up getting a field goal.
I still want to know what happened on that 3rd and 6 to start the drive. God, wide open. That looked like a
weird handoff. Something was missed. I'm gonna put it on Taylor Rapp because it sure looked like the depth where Bernard thought he was handing him off in the zone, and Rapp stayed deep and didn't take him. So I don't know if maybe Bernard was supposed to carry him and take him all the way through that spot. It sure looked like he thought he was handing him off to Rapp, and I don't know where that went. But between the two of them, it wasn't there. But how about we didn't even bring up Terrel Bernard in the defensive stuff there. How awesome is it that we just stumbled into a really nice middle linebacker?
Honestly,
it's just lovely.
I was on Sportsnet before, and they were talking about maybe like the guy, and no discredit to him. He was talking about maybe missing Tremaine Edmonds, and I was a big supporter of Tremaine Edmonds and defending his play here. But
we're missing Matt Milano.
I don't miss Tremaine Edmonds right now, like the way Bernard's playing, and he just is around the ball. He flies around the ball, and his hand is always on the ball. If there's a fumble, he's just coming up with it. Like the guy just is a ball player, and he's a magnet to the ball, and that's a great trait for a linebacker.
Yes. So weirdly, they answer back there, and it felt like a win because we held them. And then on the very first play, afterwards. Shout out to Antoine Winfield Jr., who's an awesome player. Josh had Kincaid wide open, and Josh is normally really good with arm angles, and he dropped it down, and Winfield just got his arm out there anyways, and
You get a
knocks
fat
it
guy
up
in
in
your
the
center.
air, and it falls into William Golston's belly, and he falls down, and we gift Tampa Bay not only a possession, but we give them the ball the 23-yard line.
Yeah.
And it's immediate turnaround after the defense was just out there for a long drive and immediately out there in one play. And that's always a terrible scenario where they get the ball in the red zone and we're just out there for another drive and thought they were going to get a break and immediately come back right out there. And we give up a touchdown to Chris Godwin that was, whatever. It's a tough spot to put them in. They still gave it up, but that's a really hard spot to ask the defense to make that play.
This is that sequence is probably what is so frustrating right now about this Buffalo Bills team is the debates we're having online are basically like, hey, every single meaningful metric and data pointer telling us this is a super good football team and a really good offense. And then you're seeing, well, why aren't they scoring 25 plus points a game? Like, what is going on to where these metrics don't match up with the results? And it's crap like this. It is fluky turnovers by Josh where ball gets tipped up, kills a drive. That's not a Ken Dorsey problem. Ken Dorsey doesn't call that play. It's barely even a Josh Allen problem, right? Like Josh was almost perfect throughout the entire night. This ball gets tipped up in the air. Like there's just nothing you can do about that. And then I saw some frustration with the defense in that situation. I'll tell you, like, to your point, when you come off the field after you make a stop, and you're getting drinks and you're grabbing your tablets and you're talking about what's next. And then you're like, oh, we got to get our helmets back on and go out there.
Defense on the field. Yeah. And you're trying to figure, wait, why? What's going on?
It's not a good situation to be in. You end they get put in an adverse situation there. And so it makes this game closer than it needs to be in that moment because everything else was just clicking at that moment. And then you have like a under 2-minute sequence where it's like, we just let this team back in here to hang around. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's it's a frustrating, weird situation to be in. But I will say the response to it here was my West Herr drive of the game.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a spot where you let him get back in it. It felt like they had a chance to. They just tied it up in a game where like we were completely dominating everything that was there, but now all of a sudden it's 10-10. You're like, hey, what the hell's going on? Yeah. And they answer back with not only a really strong drive, but a really balanced drive. 4 runs, 5 passes. James Cook had an 18-yarder. Josh finds Gabe for 14. We keep moving the ball down the field. Josh hits Diggs for a 12-yarder that was nice. And then we hit Dalton Kincaid for his first career and at first NFL touchdown. Really, really exciting to be able to get him into the end zone and to feel, excited about his contributions and especially in the wake of Dawson Knox going on IR and asking him to really step up. I'm interested to see his snap count after tonight. He certainly seemed like he was on the field almost every single play. So big opportunity for him, and half for the balance for the defense, half for it being Dalton Kincaid's first touchdown. Is my West Herr drive of the game for today.
I love that because Kincaid getting that touchdown, he's super close to having really big breakouts here, with last week being more of a security blanket. Didn't quite get into the end zone, similar to Shakir a little bit this week, where he had some nice production, but didn't result into getting into the end zone. And you love to see him get on the board in that situation. So I like this one. I think we should leave this graphic up. We can talk about the last Bucs possession of the half, but then I don't know if there's anything specific. Ed Oliver had a sack on that one.
Just the weirdness of it was, I think we handled it fine, but there was constantly in that middle ground of like, wait, do we call a timeout because we think we're going to get the ball back, or and they even let the clock run a couple times because they didn't feel like they were going to get any yards, and it was like this weird thing because it was kind of at midfield where they were like, well, we don't want to give them time, but maybe we want to try to score, and it ends up where they end up taking a delay of game trying to get us off sides where the punter didn't even have his hands on the ball. So I'm pretty sure the defense felt the punt or the field goal block unit felt pretty good that they weren't going to actually snap it. It was just a really weird scenario by Todd Bowles. Because of that, I don't really it was a little awkward in that, do we call a timeout? Do we try to stop it? But you don't want to call a timeout and then give them a chance to go. They were already in Buffalo territory. You don't want to give them a chance to drive further. So I don't know, just a weird ending to the half.
Yeah. But they come out of
They
half,
open
and this
up
is
the second half.
my drive of the
away.
game here. Because we saw them score 17 points in the first half, which was a talking point all week long, that starting wasn't good enough. And another thing I like to see, which was has been a struggle of the Bills, is when you come out of half, what do you do? And you deferred in that first half, right? And so you weren't able to get the ball first and score. So that means when you defer in the first half, you got to come out and start sharp. And a criticism of Ken Dorsey again this week was the scripted stuff. And in the first quarter, the scripted stuff didn't result in a touchdown, but it looked good and it felt good. And
way smoother.
People can say whatever they want about Ken Dorsey, but if the scripted stuff is also looking good, then he's doing some things correctly. And he's seeing what the weaknesses in the defense, and he's getting it and he's attacking it. And when the next set of scripted plays come in the second half, there's adjustments that have been made, and you saw even more, and you have an ability to go together and put another scripted drive together. And so they go 9 plays, 75 yards, 4 minutes and 20 seconds off the clock. Starts with Kincaid gets some. He gets a slant right off the bat on a 1st and 10. Another 1st and 10. Shakir gets 8. Cook finishes off, gets the first down there. Josh gets a run. You add 5 yards for the hold. Davis gets a screen, which honestly, they tried to run a screen to Davis earlier, and I got a little pissed. I was like, why are you running screens to him when you have Shakir? You have all these guys with speed. Why is Davis should be out ahead of this blocking, right? In my mind, in screens, but he took it 11 yards, and it was a nice run, and a patient run. Gets you into the red zone. You get one to Diggs. Davis gets another one, a 14-yarder on a nice little RPO from Josh Allen.
Yeah, quick fire one. Yeah.
This is where I want to push back on the people that just yell about shotgun, though. It's 1st and goal. They're under center with Latavius Murray, and he gets stuffed for -1 yard. So it's not guaranteed that just because you get under center, I'm not sure the Bills have those types of linemen to really push there. And so I would like to see in that red zone situation, attack the outside a little bit more with Josh Allen, roll Josh out, get Kincaid moving, stuff like that. But anyway, Gabe comes back wide open in the back of the end zone. A really nice play call for a touchdown and puts you up 24-10. And this is that point, Greg, where you're talking about now you're up 14, right? You've scored a couple drives. You really established yourself. Your defense is getting stops. This is the point of the game where I felt, all right, we're good. To the left turn party. Like I was ready to post the "We're back, America." You know what I mean? And that's where I felt this game really met the point of we're dominating this game. Things are feeling good. I feel really good about this Bills team. So that's my West Herr drive of the game.
Love it. Shout out to our guys over at West Herr. We appreciate them very, very much. All the things that they do for us as a partner all these years, as well as all of Western New York, one of the biggest employers in Western New York. If you have anything that you're looking for your automotive needs, make sure you check them out. The largest dealership group in New York State, and great partners for us here at Cover One.
Yep. It gets a little boring from here.
Yeah. So we answered for defensively with not a 3 and out, because technically Baker scrambled for a first down on a play that again should have been a sack, and shout out to Baker, turned it into an 11-yard gain.
Too.
Yeah, he's a tough dude. He's a scrappy dude. But they then end up having to punt back to us. Again, Deonte Harty had a really nice return. It gets called back on a penalty. It is what it is. And we come back out, and I'm feeling pretty good. Murray and picks up 6 yards right off the bat. Then Kincaid converts for 15 yards. We are now at midfield for 2nd and 5. And, incomplete, take a shot to Diggs, incomplete again on a short one to Diggs. That was actually a really nice play by Carlton Davis.
Really nice.
So, not the end of the world. Plus, you get the Sam Martin coffin corner punt where he literally does it perfect. It lands at the 2 and bounces sideways out of bounds at the 3. Just absolutely picture perfect. It's like, all right, would have been cool to put the nail in the coffin here and to really put him away with the touchdown. But all right, it still was pretty good. Again,
and you get a 3 and out.
The defense answers perfectly. Poona Ford has a tackle and then almost has a safety. We get him there. We get another punt where this time Harty has a 23-yard return. That one gets called back. Ends up being, just in a weird situation. And again, we come back out, we drive down, moving the ball, throws to Diggs, to Davis, get a couple runs in there, get a nice conversion where Josh picks up on the first down and slides, does both things. And here I'm going to blame the refs for this one.
Stupid.
Because we are at the Tampa Bay 39.
Yep.
We're running the clock down. Josh is trying to get them to jump off sides.
At the end of the quarter, it's like
he's not going to snap it.
Nope.
He's not going to snap it until he sees the Tampa Bay defender jump off sides into the neutral zone.
Heads up play by Mitch Morse too.
So he and Allen snap the ball because he's going to get a free play. They don't throw the flag, and then Josh gets sacked, and all of a sudden now it's 3rd and 11 back at the 49. And, we do get 7. This is one where it's kind of debatable. It's 4th and 4. We're at the Tampa Bay 42. This is one where the analytics say to go for it, like in the spot that you're in, and 4th and 4 is in that range to do it. But ultimately, it should have never been in that position. We should have just gone into the fourth quarter where it's 2nd and 1 at the Tampa Bay 39. We run a normal play where we pick up the first down. We probably drive down the rest of the way and score, or at a minimum, get a field goal where it's 27-14. Okay, we're up 3 scores, kind of putting everything away.
Yep.
And it's just that stupid play where Josh and Mitch did the right thing, but the refs were like, nah, he wasn't that far off sides. We'll just let it go. What the hell?
I hate that this is like the story.
I think the ref assumed that the quarter was over and genuinely either stopped looking or just thought it was done.
Yeah. I mean, they make mistakes too. They're human. We're all making mistakes out here. But this just feels like a reoccurring theme about this year's Buffalo Bills. Just like weird things that these are the things that are unexplainable in the data of like, how do you have such a high octane EPA offense and then you can't score, and it's like, well, you lose a drive from a wacky play that goes to that, and you get in a 4th and 4 situation, have to make a decision. Maybe Sean McDermott should go for it. I don't know. We can debate that, but the defense just made a stop, and you have this ugly play kind of just like festering in your brain of like, all right, let's just punt and get out of this. That one I'm not as mad about in that situation, but they punted away, and same type of thing as the last few drives. They pin him, and Baker Mayfield's kind of not comfortable in the pocket, and he's running for his life, and they basically get the ball right back again. Like, so I understand feeling pretty good about putting your defense back out on the field time and time again in this game.
They were standing up. They were stepping up to it. They were doing the right things here again. The near safety and being in those positions. It's, just frustrating. The next one you go to, this is the 4th and 2 at the
this is the 44. One for me.
Like, you got,
and you're in the 4th. Haven't had a chance to put it away with those 3 scores yet.
Correct.
And now's the time.
This is the one where, I get it that you had, a couple different plays, but you had a nice one to Shakir. You get down in that position. You have it at 4th and 2. We can convert here between Kincaid and Harty or Shakir or Diggs, like so many guys who can win in those situations. You've got to give yourself a shot, or just roll Josh out and give him the option to pick it up running. And I don't know, that was one where you had a chance to ice it and put the game away. Sam,
I still think if it's a bigger game, a more challenging opponent, I do think they'll do it.
I agree. I agree. I expect to see that even the next game against Cincinnati. I expect to see more of that. And again, a 17 play, 92 yards, 7 minute, like the most ass backwards, like 2-minute drill down by 2 scores drive you'll ever see.
Where they stacked, like pressure. That offense
Baker running for his life. Weird penalties, all kinds of different things. Ends up being 3 4th down and 10 convert, 4th and 10, 4th and 8, 4th and 10. The Taron Johnson illegal contact. The receiver runs into him and keeps running his route. Like, Terran didn't hold him. Like, yeah, he was technically making contact.
I don't even
at
think his hands were on him though.
the
Like
8th, 9th. It was with his chest with 8th,
yes.
9th, 10th yard. Okay, I get it. It was past 5 yards, but like it wasn't where the ball was going. Like
Yeah.
you can't make that call on
That's a
4th and
tough one.
10. That's absurd. Then again, more, Micah Hyde kind of helps Payne Durham. Probably would have dropped the ball anyways. Get it to another 4th and 8. Now we get awesome pressure, send a blitz package. Like you said, probably should have been called dead.
That was
earlier.
the longest sack I've seen.
They let Baker keep fighting, and then as Jordan Phillips is kind of like the rodeo tying him up, like, yeah, his hand does technically graze across his face mask. It had nothing to do with the play. It never endangered the player. He was trying to spin out, so Phillips reached around just to try to make sure he didn't get away, and his hand landed on the face mask. It was just a weird, fluky play that gives him another one. We then get more pressure, more incompletions. Everything looks like it's going to be done. And they throw the ball up on 4th and 10. It goes off Christian Benford's helmet and directly into Mike Evans' waiting arms, who falls for a touchdown. And then the same thing on the 2-point conversion. Jordan Phillips tips that up at the line, and that goes into Cade Otton's hands. Just like 4 different crazy fluke plays to help them score in a weird situation.
Got Vegas some money, right?
Oh my God. The Bills were covering by a 9.5 point spread. That won Las Vegas an incredible amount of money because people were heavily on the Bills, who looked to be controlling everything. And shockingly, the referees called multiple penalties on that drive to help keep it alive.
Yeah, no, it was super fluky. But to everyone's frustration, I'm sure Twitter is very reasonable right now. This super fluky drive is the difference in a lot of how we're going to talk about this game the rest of this week. And that sucks because it really, otherwise, a fantastic performance from a depleted Sean McDermott defense. I think this was also the drive where Benford, I don't think Mike Evans would have caught it, but they had one in the back of the end zone where he came up and just made a punch out play on the ball. Like up until that touchdown that he gave up, I was like, dude, Christian Benford is balling. Like we're all so upset that Kaiir Elam was a game day inactive today, but then you have Christian Benford playing against Mike Evans and Godwin, and still like these guys are not able to do anything. And then one goes off his head for a crazy catch for a touchdown. Just the types of plays that made it so that they could score. But even then, it still, to me, felt like a win because of how long, I mean, having to go 94 and having to get all these extra things to do. Like, I was like, man, this team just isn't going to score on their own. They're going to need us to make these types of mistakes so that they can score. So still shout out to the defense, even though this looked sloppy and got it within a score.
Yeah. And the way that we kind of wrapped up here, we're running the ball. We get 4 yards. Josh actually scrambles for a yard. We then hit Diggs for the 15-yarder that kind of seemed like it was going to end it. Cook gets another 5 yards. So now we're going into the 2-minute warning. We're at midfield. It's 2nd and 5. Cook gets 3 more yards. Latavius Murray gets 1 yard and is fighting and almost seemed like he was going to get
Where
it.
was the guy to push him on that one? That was like nobody's around him.
If Spencer Brown and Osiris Torrance are there to kind of push the pile, it gets ended. It's frustrating that it just would have felt nothing. We'll talk about the final drive like it did. They got a Hail Mary into the end zone down by 6. Any crazy things can happen. They had a chance.
We have seen it. We talked about games that ended that way. Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen us just run out the clock here and end it and be like, hey, all right, we got it. And it didn't feel so. Instead, it kind of stole a lot of that, what should have been pretty positive energy from this game,
and punctuating the win,
in the same thing, we punt it. Saran Neal has a chance to down it at the 1.
That would have also been game over.
Yes, they wouldn't have they would have no chance to be able to do anything from that
40
spot.
seconds left from that?
31 seconds.
Yep.
So, they move it down. They get a couple yards out of bounds. Rashad White out of bounds. Mike Evans out of bounds.
Von Miller offsides.
Von Miller offsides, which again, like I get it, he's trying to time it, and that's good, but the 5 yards kind of mattered there.
And
Like when
that,
your quarterback can only throw that far, like that
yeah,
kind of matters. And he did get it about 5 yards into the end zone in a play that no one touched the ball. Like it was super weird. There
very
wasn't
weird.
like the ping pong play. It got down there, so it happened, and it almost stole what should have been some pretty solid excitement for me. And instead, I was like, all right, thank God. And like turned my TV off and started walking upstairs to come talk to you. So it just the opportunity that could have been a pretty joyous partying second half kind of ended with a
If
and
we're gonna still
a
have to
lot of the
fight
people who
everybody.
were not excited heading into this game probably are still hanging on to that second half.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever. I mean, again, it's October. There's mistakes in this game, but
Yeah.
to me, a lot of the things that I needed to see answers to, we saw some answers
Yeah.
to. And again,
Way
the
more
thing,
positive than negative.
way more positive than negative. And as long as the mistakes that I am seeing in October seem like mistakes that can be fixed, I can live with some of those mistakes. There was a comment up in here, when you play not to lose, wacky stuff can happen. And I do agree with that. I think there's a certain point when you're playing not to lose and just get through a game. This is the NFL, and these guys get paid too, and they can make plays. So I do agree with that. But I would urge everyone, we talk about this a lot, Greg, to watch other teams the way
Oh yeah.
and criticize other teams the way we criticize our own team. A lot of NFL coaches play the way Sean McDermott played tonight and coached the way Sean McDermott coached tonight. And there's other coaches. Staley's a great example. He loves going for it on fourth down,
Oh, yeah.
and he fails a lot. And
A lot.
they
Some
make
weird situations.
it's a weird situation for him over there, because now they're talking about that he's too aggressive in those situations. He puts his team in harm. And so I've seen a lot of people that are supposedly really great coaches, Sean McVay's and Zach Taylor's, making really weird, questionable in-game decisions and trying to just hang on to wins, because it is hard in this league. And I think if you've been around the league for long enough, there is some of that conservative idea in the back of your head that like, hey, we got to get through this one and get through the game and hold on to this win. And I think opponent matters, situations matter. And again, these are all learnable mistakes that are all correctable. They're all fixable. Those are the ones that I can live with.
Yeah, so we'll see where some of these things go. It's certainly much better to be going into this 10-day break with a win.
Yes.
The Buffalo Bills are now 5-3. They are heading into this mini bye. They get a 10-day break to get ready for Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
They get to watch the Cincinnati game and scout it. They get an extra, 3-4 days here leading into the trade deadline on Tuesday. You may see a trade deadline extravaganza for me sometime coming up here. I'm going to be going through some of the different trade options and the things that are out there, players and positions we could be looking for, the contracts we need to look for, all those different things. We'll have some fun with that. But it's now a lot easier to head into here. It wasn't perfect. There was more good than bad. There's still plenty to clean up, but they're at least heading the right direction. And in the moment, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, they got to stack some wins, right? You dropped one to the Patriots that you probably shouldn't have. This seems to happen to the Bills every year, where that was the Colts a couple of years ago, where you drop a game where you shouldn't, or the Jags, stuff like that. So now coming up on this stretch, they're gonna have to get one that maybe against a team that is either even or better than them. In the case of the Eagles right now, you're gonna have to steal out one of those games, I think, to get to the goals that you're trying to get to. But you just got, at this point, with the way they've been playing and the issues and the injuries, this team to me still just needs to readjust its focus to getting back to playoff caliber football, consistent, so you can be a playoff team, so you have a chance at the end of the year. And if you got Josh Allen going into the playoffs, you've got just as good of a chance as any of these other teams, right?
Yeah. So one last thing here for a lot of the discussion that was going on the last day and a half here of who was going to be game day inactive, who was going to be up. A lot of the folks in the Cover One Slack channel were well aware of who those game day inactives were. Again, Cover One's not a big news breaking organization, but when we find out little tidbits, you're going to hear about it in the Slack channel. And the way to get yourself in there is right here. Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One Pass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore or be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
All of you guys that are still here with us right now, do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out. It really goes a long ways to be able to help us. Appreciate all the different folks in the chat sending all the messages in tonight. The super chats were fantastic. Yeah. We appreciate you guys. Any final things for the people here?
I do have a quick final thing here, Greg. We talk about this a lot, that sports is fun. Right. Like we have these arguments on Twitter. I even apologized to some people for the way I make them feel about sports, because it's never my intent to make anyone feel bad. It's sports. It's not serious. Even if the Bills would have lost tonight, like, my life goes on. I still enjoy getting up for the game. Like, it's something that is a distraction in life. As people know, there was a shooting in Maine this week, and I needed the Buffalo Bills as a distraction and this show as a distraction, and that is what is beautiful about sports. Life, it can be real terrible when you look at the real world and you're out there. It's not great all the time. Sports is awesome, and I hate that it has also gotten to the way the rest of the world works, where we can't even have sports conversations without it getting personal, without people getting for real mad. I just want people to remember that it is just sports, and we can debate whether Sean McDermott should punt on 4th and 2, and that it doesn't actually matter to the real quality of our lives. Doesn't matter if Sean McDermott makes the wrong decision or not. So try to be nice when we're having those conversations, because the rest of the world isn't nice and it isn't all that fun. And sports is supposed to be the thing that's a distraction for us. So it was a great distraction for me tonight to have the Buffalo Bills win this game and come on and talk to people and interact with Bills fans that are having fun. So just wanted to get that bit off my chest.
Yeah. So really well said. I know that's where you were born and raised and spent a lot of your time, and certainly thoughts with all the different people impacted out there.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers with everybody in Maine right now. It's a weird spot. They're all good people out there and dealing with something that I don't think they ever thought they would experience.
Yeah, very much so. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys very, very much. Always a great time. Shout out to our fantastic producer, Chris Kepner, who is fighting his way through the comments here and getting all your guys' stuff up on the screen. We appreciate everything else that you guys do for us. But on behalf of Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. And